Good day, I'm Carrie Ann Smith, and this is your JIS News for Friday, May 13. More than 130,000 additional Jamaicans will benefit from government's phased rollout of its $1.5 million income tax relief plan. Andrea Chisholm has the details.
Finance Minister Audley Shaw opened the budget debate yesterday and announced that as a first step, the PAYE threshold would move from $592,800 to approximately $1 million on July 1, 2016. It will further move to $1.5 million on April 1, 2017.
In making this a threshold for everybody, it's no longer 118,000 people that will benefit. It will now be 251,000 people that will benefit.
The increased income tax threshold will lead to a revenue deficit of $12.5 billion. To plug that, Minister Shaw announced that $6.48 billion would be recouped from an increased special consumption tax of $7 per litre on petrol and $5.3 billion from increasing the departure tax to $35. Another $1.41 billion will come from introducing SCT on LNG and revising the regime for heavy fuel oil, while $574 million is added by increasing the SCT on cigarettes to $14 per stick.
We are asking those earners of income over $6 million or greater to pay a little more by raising the tax rate from 25% to 30%. But we remind them that when they take off the elevated tax threshold of $1.5 million, that the effective tax rate on $6 million will become 27.5% and not, in fact, 30%.
The tax measures will result in surplus revenues of $1.278 billion, which Minister Shaw says will go towards next year's further increase of the income tax threshold. In explaining the revised implementation plan for the tax relief, Minister Shaw said the administration took into account the comments from all sectors as well as the International Monetary Fund.
When considered in its totality, this change that we are making in the structure of our tax arrangement shifts more of our taxes to indirect or consumption taxes and away from the income or direct tax.
For JIS News, I'm Andrea Chisholm.
Associate Professor at the Northern Caribbean University, Dr. Audley Eccles, has endorsed the government's plan for increasing the income tax threshold, saying it is a very good proposal. He was speaking on a JIS TV-produced post-budget debate panel discussion yesterday. The taxation expert said one of the advantages of this new measure was the feasibility for implementation.
It is a proposal that is now very simple for everyone to follow. Because in the past, what was proposed, you had too many cliffs, and those cliffs created problems for persons who would be in some narrow bands of taxes.
The university professor said that for payroll purposes and other forms of taxation, the phased threshold increase was more equitable than the previous tax relief plan. While delivering his budget speech yesterday, Minister Shaw also announced that a team from the International Monetary Fund would come to Jamaica in July to work with the Ministry of Finance on its plans for more comprehensive tax reform. He said that would be done in tandem with a wages and compensation review which was being crafted. It is to be submitted to Cabinet by December.
And we are reviewing methods to encourage retention and reinvestment of corporate profits from companies that are in overseas that operate here to ease demand pressures on the foreign exchange market while promoting growth.
And government is rolling out several measures to boost investment and accelerate economic growth. Among them, a pre-investment evaluation fund designed to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the public sector investment program.
To support key pre-investment actions such as feasibility assessments, process reviews, cost-benefit analysis, socio-economic and environmental assessment, and other technical studies.
$130 million has been provided to set up the pre-investment evaluation fund. Meanwhile, a range of significant investment projects will be pursued along the southern corridor of the island to spur significant economic growth. And a national financial inclusion strategy for Jamaica will be launched in the very near future.
We're going to do this because improved financial inclusion is not only supportive of inclusive growth and therefore valuable in its own right, It also is an important enabler of sustainable economic growth, job creation and development.
At the same time, government is examining draft bills for the regulation of credit unions and the emergence of the microcredit financial sector in Jamaica. In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has ordered an investigation into all major construction projects to determine whether they are in keeping with the approved regulatory standards. The decision was communicated during a meeting at Jamaica House yesterday with the local government minister Desmond McKenzie and ministers without portfolio Horace Chang and Darrell Vaz. The investigation will be done by the committee set up by Minister McKenzie to review this week's building collapse at the Blue Diamond ROYALTON Grill. Prime Minister Holness has directed that the committee be expanded to include representatives from the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministries of Local Government and Labour and Social Security, the National Works Agency, and the National Environment and Planning Agency. Mr. Holness pointed out that the administration was preparing for increased construction in the hotel and other sectors. But he insisted that a balance must be struck between expeditious project completion and adherence to all approved standards, including the safety of workers, the public, and eventual hotel users. And finally, emergency surgery services resumed at the Princess Margaret Hospital yesterday. The hospital's operating theatre was closed on May 2 due to a fire. It will also resume elective services on Tuesday, May 17. The board and management of the Southeast Regional Health Authority say the maintenance team worked hard over the past week to complete the refurbishment of the area which was damaged by the fire. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Carrie Ann Smith. Thanks for watching.